Joe Burrow headed to the Arizona Cardinals. Is it possible? Is it a facade? I don't think that that's true. I think it's very possible Joe Burrow could be a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Plus, could ASU lose Kenny Dillingham after once reporting they were near a contract extension? Let's talk about that and much more in this edition of the Ben Garcia Show.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button to do what a lot of you guys have done. Support this show and continuously interact with me on social media. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. So jam-packed show for you guys today. We actually have some newer things to talk about that isn't the same old as Jonathan Gannon going to get fired or not. There has been some reporting when you talk about the Jonathan Gannon side of things. Give me 1 second. Listen, guys, I've tried to tell you, Michael Evans in the chat, it's his job to make sure the set is up, and the set wasn't up, but it's all fixed now. So let's talk about this. So there was yet another report. Let's go 5 minutes on the Jonathan Gannon. Is he going to keep his job front? And then let's go to the Joe Burrow stuff. That, let's just be clear, is a lot more possible than it isn't. And it's a little frustrating when people try to tell you that it's not, when it's literally already happened before. So let's start here. So per another reporter yesterday, which for some reason is escaping me. I believe it was Tom Pelissero yesterday of the NFL Network mentioning the Arizona Cardinals and the future of Jonathan Gannon. It was. So Tom Pelissero said on the Arizona Cardinals, quote, they've got young coaches. My understanding is that Michael Bidwell has been really supportive of these guys to this point. That's certainly going to be an examination of what went wrong. What did I tell you guys on Sunday night? Or, I apologize, what did I tell you guys on Monday? What did I tell you guys? I told you I didn't think Jonathan Gannon was going to get fired. I did not say that that's what I wanted to happen. I told you what I thought was going to happen. Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network saying on the Rich Eisen show, Michael Bidwell wants to give this staff a chance, but if it keeps spiraling, he'll have to examine what went wrong, citing the inexperienced young head coaches. This team is prepping you to fire Nick Rawlis, Andrew Petzing, and move on from Kyler Murray, and that is going to serve as your heads rolling, heads on a silver platter. Things are different now. That's what that's going to serve as. I'm not saying that it's fair. It's the right thing to do. It's smart. None of those adjectives. None of those verbs. And I think that that's what they're setting you up for. I don't think Jonathan Gannon is getting fired. I think this is going to be a rinsing of your coordinators and a bringing in of new guys. And that's crazy to me. It's just nuts to me because Jonathan Gannon hired these guys. That is a detriment to him as a coach. Again, I have been someone who has mostly defended Jonathan Gannon. I've been someone who has mostly defended a lot of what Jonathan Gannon has done in this team as a whole. However, This part is on him. And I've agreed with you guys that I think moving on from JG is probably the correct thing to do. I would agree that it's probably not going to change anything. But when you talk about just moving on from coaches, the younger ones, I don't really know what that's going to change. I know the Eagles did it years ago in 2022 after they went to the Super Bowl. And then what happened? They had a down season. They changed their coordinators. They went back to the Super Bowl. That is a completely different team and situation. This team hasn't been over 500. Even the year that the Eagles spiraled out of control and fell, they were 11-6. My guys in the chat, my guy Frank Misano in the chat. What's up, man? Good to have you here. I think it's the first time you've ever been here. And so, yeah, I think this is what they're going to serve you. I think they are prepping you for the exits of Nick Rawlis and Drew Petzing. And Jonathan Gannon is just going to take over more of the defensive side of the ball, and they'll bring some offensive coordinator in. But here's the most interesting thing to this. Someone said this to me, and I thought it made sense. Who is going to hitch their wagon to Jonathan Gannon that is like a true offensive coordinator mind that you trust with this offense? If they see the writing on the wall that you could be fired in a year, who's going to do that? And it made me think, I don't see that guy out there. Like, whoever you bring in, let's say it's an elite level offensive coordinator. Well, why would they choose your job? Why? If there's other ones available. Because Jonathan Gannon is on a short leash. They don't want to uproot and move their family just to get fired in a year. Yeah, it's a mess, man. It's an absolute mess. Someone brought that up to me yesterday, and I thought to myself, oh, that's really smart. Because to have a new, bright mind, you got to be able to bring someone in, and they're going to interview you just as much as you interview them. So that's not great. Let's talk about Joe Burrow really quickly. Not really quickly. Let's spend some time on it. And just like final prediction, I'm starting to believe Gannon really is safe. Yeah. Let's move on from that. Let's get to the Joe Burrow side of things. So Joe Burrow's pissed off. And even more than pissed off, I think he's depressed. Now, I don't know what's going on in the Joe Burrow landscape that is not football. I'm not going to comment on that. It's none of my business. I'm not interested in it. But it's clear Joe Burrow is angry in Cincinnati, and he should be. It is, like, if you think the Cardinals are a bad organization, Cincinnati is so much worse. Their owner just doesn't care about football. Gets his check every year, that's that. They've been a poverty organization for a long time. They ran out their best quarterback ever in Carson Palmer. And now Joe Burrow, who's also probably going to be their best quarterback ever when it's all said and done, they're this close to running out too. Their offensive line has been atrocious forever. They do a bad job of signing deals, meaning the cap hit of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins is so massive and so punitive, they can't do anything to help out the team. It was always stupid to sign all three guys. Jamar, Joe, you get it. T should have never been signed. They should have traded him for a first-round pick and used that on the defense. But it's neither here nor there. Joe Burrow's fed up. And last week he talked about he's not even having fun. And this week Jamar Chase is talking about having to support him and be there for him. And it's like, whoa, those are major red flags. And when you put together the fact that there's already been a Cincinnati quarterback that has went down this route and has said, you are either trading me or I'm retiring. Joe Burrow could do the same thing. And when you talk about teams that would fit perfectly for Joe Burrow, the Arizona Cardinals make a ton of sense. Not just because they could give them 3 first-round picks, which is what I believe it would cost. Either, like, here would be my offer, the first offer. Here would be my first offer for Joe Burrow. I'd send them Kyler Murray. I'd probably send them Darius Robinson or someone of that nature, 2 first-round picks, and probably a 3rd-round pick, probably a 2nd-round pick, while also knowing it's probably going to be Kyler Murray and 3 first-round picks, plus a player, a Jalen Thompson-esque level player. Jalen Thompson's contract is running out. That couldn't happen either. I'm just telling you what I think it could be. And so it makes sense. And for people to say that it doesn't make any sense is crazy. This roster is ready-made, especially offensively for a quarterback. Well, the offensive line stinks. It actually doesn't over the last couple weeks. The offensive line has progressively gotten better over the last couple weeks. Not to mention, during Jonathan Gannon's tenure, it's actually been a pretty good offensive line. And we know the Cincinnati Bengals have a tendency of trading their greatest quarterbacks. So, is it going to happen? Probably not. Is there, or I guess I should say, is Joe Burrow going to get traded? Probably not. Is it likely? Probably not. Is there greater than a 25% chance he could get moved? Absolutely. And the Cardinals make a ton of sense. It's not just the fact that offensively, all they need is a running back in terms of weapons, and they could draft that instantly and be back and ready to go. But they have, golly, my voice is still not great. Sorry, guys. That's funny. But also, from an offensive line perspective, over the last couple weeks, the offensive line has actually been pretty good. That shows improvement. But not to mention Jonathan Gannon and his offensive lines have actually been pretty good over his tenures. Pretty good. So you solve the offensive line issue by drafting a right Spencer Fanu, or you draft the best right tackle in the draft with your first round pick. You already have Paris Johnson Jr. You already have Yoda Froholt. They have the pieces. And when you talk about Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., it rivals the wide receiving and pass catching players that they have in Cincinnati. The Cardinals could pay him. They absolutely would pay him. And for those that say, well, he would never choose here, Joe Burrow doesn't really have a choice. He's got 4 years left on his deal. What is he going to do? Walk away from $200 million? That's not happening. It's not happening. And it would instantly catapult this team from a fringe playoff contender to maybe an NFC championship contender with undoubtedly the best quarterback in the conference. And it would give them a runway of 2 to 3 years to really knock on the door of Super Bowl aspirations. There is one thing that I think can fix this team. There's one thing that I think can fix this team. An elite level quarterback. An elite level quarterback. And if Joe Burrow decides that maybe he's ready to go, ready to move on, and he's got to make it really, really ugly, which I believe he can and will do, sure, it's going to cost you 3 first-round picks and Kyler Murray. And you should do it in a second. You'll have a head coach in Jonathan Gannon who can focus on the defensive side of the ball. Joe Burrow can and will attract the right offensive candidate to be the offensive coordinator. And it makes sense. Well, why would he want to leave Cincinnati? Well, it's Cincinnati, first off. One, the weather sucks. The city sucks. The worst ownership in the NFL. Not only the worst ownership in the NFL, but the poorest ownership in the NFL. And it would be tough to force them to trade you. It would be. But you could make it ugly enough. That's what Carson Palmer had to do. And that's what he did. And it worked. And Joe Burrow could do that too. And it might be as crazy as sitting out a season. So, there's all of those aspects to it. And I'm looking at the chat right now. Someone in the chat said the Kyler Murray for Joe Burrow cap doesn't work like that as well. First off, it absolutely can. Both teams would have to move around money, but you could absolutely do that. As well as the cap hits, people have to remember you're taking off the cap hit of Joe Burrow or the cap hit of Kyler Murray, but the quarterback you're getting in Kyler, the quarterback you're getting in Joe Burrow, there is no cap hit after that because another team took on that cap hit. So the same money you were allocating to the quarterback position is the same money you'd always be allocating to. So, it is possible. It is possible. Is it likely this season? Definitely not. I don't think enough. Well, not definitely not, but likely not. Because it feels like this needs to have a bubbling over point and it needs to get more ugly, and it can, but he has to really crank that up. But I don't think he wants to be there anymore. And someone's going to get his services, and adding that he could go to the NFC where he would probably be the best quarterback there, even ahead of Matt Stafford, who would be, nearly 40 by then, ahead of Jaden Daniels. And the Cardinals are 1 draft pick away from really solidifying their offensive line. It makes sense to me. And the Cardinals are really the only team that can give the Cincinnati Bengals a quarterback back in Kyler Murray, who is exciting, who can be dynamic, but a little inconsistent. So, and then when people say it can't happen, it's it already happened. It already happened in Carson Palmer. Now, they didn't get Carson Palmer directly from the Bengals. I'm talking about the situation, what happened between Carson Palmer and the Bengals. And they got him from the Raiders, obviously. But the Bengals have shown at least once they could drive a quarterback so insane that he just says, "Peace out, Girl Scout. I'm out of here." It's not crazy, and it's not insanity. Is it likely this year? Probably not. I'd probably put the odds at him getting traded at 25%. And then let's say that 25% happens. I'd say the Cardinals are a 10% chance out of 100. Because he's going to have a wide, diverse market. And teams like the Jets could send like 5 first-round picks. Well, Ben, you can only send 3 first-round picks. No, you can only send 3 of your first-round picks. They've got first-round picks from other teams. They could send 4. 1 from the Cowboys, 3 of theirs. And that could be enticing. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. And I know it's hard, but it could happen. And so looking at the chat, Andrew Luck walked away from millions. Yeah, not nearly as much as Joe Burrow would walk away from because the cap has went up exponentially since then, like 10x since then. FYI, he grew up in his home in Ohio. What do I care? Go there in the offseason. It would be really easily for both teams to absorb this trade. Totally agree, Brian. Totally true. I miss Carson Palmer. Yep. Huge dead money hit, but it wouldn't really affect him. It wouldn't really affect them because Kyler's already their quarterback. So, like, the money that they were going to spend on a quarterback, they were already paying for. And if they don't like Kyler, they use the 3 first-round picks and their first-round picks to find their next guy that they could ruin. But yeah, so it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But I wanted to talk about that. I woke up this morning thinking my voice would be like perfectly back, but it's still not there. So I'm going too hard. So I got to calm down a little bit. Kenny Dillingham might leave for Michigan. He might leave for Michigan. And there's 2 main points I want to hit with this. Point number 1. Is Michigan a better job than Arizona State? On paper, yes. But you can't act like it doesn't come with real pressure and real repercussions. Also comes with real money. And that can't be something to scoff at. They can hand him $15 million a year. However, Michigan is a job where it's almost a mandate to beat Ohio State, where getting to the playoff is a minimum bar. And if Kenny goes there, I don't know if it's a great match because Kenny's busy bee and can do, and I'm just going to outwork you mentality, I think also stems for his love for ASU. There's an extra oomph that I believe he has here because this is his quote unquote dream job. And you got to be careful about what you wish for. I get the money aspect of it. And honestly, I won't kill Kenny from that perspective. If he left for Michigan, it was like a money move. But what I will say is, you can't clown Lane Kiffin on social media with a Denzel Washington quote about not chasing the next destination, and then you follow in his footsteps. That would be, let's call it what it is. That would be just a hypocritical thing to do. However, there is also a chance Kenny goes to Michigan and it doesn't work out and he gets fired. A lot of Michigan head coaches, not named Jim Harbaugh, do. But here's the thing I want Kenny Dillingham to know. If it doesn't work out in Michigan, do not come back. And I will be advocating for him not to come back. You made a choice. And you've told us, and you've shown your hand, that as soon as a better opportunity comes a knocking, you're going to take it. And that's fine. You got to do what's best for your family. But I got to do what's best for me. ASU's got to do what's best for their athletic program and not find someone that's going to jump ship. But here's the other thing. If Kenny leaves for Michigan, Arizona State University football will become a mid-major-esque level program. No one will care. And you're not just talking about, Kenny Dillingham leaving. You're talking about people losing their jobs because the athletic program isn't bringing in the money that it was before. So this isn't just something that affects Kenny Dillingham. This affects a lot of people. And I thought we were better than this, but the emails and the begging on social media to Graham Rossini, who's this guy right here on the screen, and Michael Crow advocating for Kenny Dillingham to stay. I get it. Fans want to do what fans want to do, and it's emotional, and you love your guy. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. I'm here to tell you, if it takes an outcry and massive support because of a bunch of emails flooding Michael Crow and Graham Rossini's inbox, or heartwarming, touching videos or tweets at Graham Rossini or Michael Crow to try to get them to understand the magnitude of Kenny Dillingham, he's already gone. He's already gone. I already think Michael Crow's an idiot. I think the way he handles a lot of different things, he's just a big fat dummy. Big dummy. I don't like Michael Crow at all. I think he's arrogant. I think he thinks he's better than other people. I think he does I think he stayed away from NIL for a really long time as like a badge of honor. I hate the way he handled COVID at ASU when I went to ASU and still charged me the same amount of tuition for a quarter of the schooling. Like, Michael Crow's the worst. But they might even be more like Graham Rossini and Michael Crow, Michael Crow, might even be worse leaders than I thought if they don't understand the magnitude of Kenny Dillingham leaving this program. If they need a bunch of handwritten sentiments and videos or tweets at them to explain the magnitude of what Kenny Dillingham means to ASU football and ASU as a whole, they're even worse leaders than I thought. Because that should be very obvious. Incredibly obvious. But it's just the world we live in, man. Here's the other thing. This is not coping. This is not me just telling you what you want to hear. I've always been honest. I've always led on honesty. I've always led on authenticity. I do think Kenny Dillingham stays. He has earned the right to the benefit of the doubt. Because up until this point, he has said and done all the right things. Up until this point, there have been other bigger jobs that have become available, and he has not looked their way. Hand on the Bible, he says, or swears up and down. He talked to no one during the season, and I kind of believe him. We only have to this point what Kenny Dillingham has continuously said, and that is he loves ASU and he ain't leaving. There has been zero concrete reporting, either one way or another, that Kenny Dillingham is leaving Arizona State. None. Zilp, zip, zero, nada. Zero. So Kenny Dillingham has earned the right to the benefit of the doubt. And I do think he loves it here. And I think he understands that. I think he understands what having your dream job and having the backing and supporting of the entire fan base around you. And so, although I think Michigan is an outstanding job, it comes with real pressure. And if he gets fired after a couple years, I don't want him back at ASU. Nothing against Kenny Dillingham, but you showed your hand. Once a better job becomes available, you're going to leave. However, because of the extension talks with ASU, I think he's using Michigan for leverage, and he has every right to do that, and he should. Here's the other thing. I'm not going to be pissed if Kenny Dillingham leaves for Michigan for the money, for the better opportunity, whatever. Everyone gets to have, everyone gets to decide what they want to do with their life. And if he feels it's better for his family, I get that. But Kenny Dillingham kind of made his bed and now he's lying in it. After clowning Lane Kiffin with a Denzel Washington quote about not chasing the next destination, rather be happy with where you're at. You don't get to do that and then jump ship for Michigan. And it goes back to my point of, if it doesn't work out in Michigan, you're not welcome back here. I don't want someone who's going to rebuild the program just to jump ship to another blue blood in 2 years. And to be fair to Kenny, everything he has said and done has led me to believe he ain't leaving. However, you've been very clear about you wanting to stay, so much so that you're clowning on Lane Kiffin. It would be embarrassing if you left now after going on social media, after claiming you never are on social media and posting that. And just so we're clear, the magnitude of Kenny Dillingham's impact at ASU, no doubt in my mind, is ASU crashing and burning if Kenny Dillingham leaves from an athletic standpoint. From an athletic standpoint, ASU will crumble if Kenny Dillingham leaves. And if Michael Crow and Graham Rossini are that stupid that they don't see the impact and they need a bunch of emails and a bunch of Twitter sentiments send their way for them to understand we have worse leadership than I initially thought. And so everything's on the table. And this is a massive moment on if ASU will succeed or if they won't from an athletics department standpoint. And don't let ASU fool you. They don't have the funds to pay Kenny Dillingham. One, I'm sure he'd take a hometown discount. Two, I know how much money I spent to go to ASU. They have one of the highest enrollments in the country. Stop playing poor. What's the number one in innovation? Maybe you could take top 5 in innovation for a year and spend that money that you were going to spend on that on your top tier head coach. So, it's nonsense, dude. It's complete garbage. Don't let them fool you into thinking, well, you can't afford him. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Stop letting billion-dollar, trillion-dollar corporations and colleges fooling you into the tin can shtick on the side of the road. And you guys are all right in the chat. If Kenny Dillingham leaves, drop the support of ASU. They have not earned the right for you to come to their games, for you to root for their teams. Let them suffer and let them fail. And also, if Kenny leaves, I won't be talking about this team. I'm not just talking about them because I'm an Arizona-based show. I'll give him 2 middle fingers and walking out of there. So, yeah. Saul, what percentage do you put on Kenny staying? 70-30. I think he stays. I think it'd be really embarrassing if he left after clowning Lane Kiffin. And so I think Kenny stays. But this is a big moment in history for ASU athletics. Will they do the right thing? I hope so. All right, guys, a little bit of a longer show today. Let's see if you guys have any questions in the chat before I go. Ben, got to tell you, from all the intro music, yours is the best original, and it's not just random song or noises. I bought that a while ago from some guy. His name's Marco Solo. Good dude. And he charged me for it, and I've had it for a while. So I think I'm going to get a new one for next season. ASU has so much money just dumping into the football program. Brian gets it. Hey, you got the sign right today. Yeah, your voice is sounding better, Ben. Yeah, better, but not perfect. All right, I think we're good. Alfredo, I don't know who this person is, but they're here, and so I'm thankful. Let's face it, everything he's asking for in ASU will be guaranteed at Michigan. You might have a great fan base, but you don't have the boosters. Yes, they do. ASU has the money. They have the money. They do. Don't let them fool you into thinking they don't. Better chance, Joe Burrow coming to Kenny Dillingham, Dilly leaving. Yeah, for sure. It's a way bigger chance that Kenny Dillingham stays in Arizona than Joe Burrow leaves to the Cardinals. 100%. It's not close how much different that discrepancy is. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. My voice is starting to go out, so that's my cue to leave. Hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. And I'll see you guys on Friday at 8 a.m. Stay safe. Thanks for watching, guys.